Have you ever met one of those people who just can't be stopped? It's like they're unstoppable.
Yeah, I have.
Me too.
What's their mystique?
Nothing stops these people.
Don't stop.
Welcome to Mission Unstoppable with Coach Frankie Picasso. You're about to meet some of the most amazing people.
Stop. Don't stop.
They've accomplished their goals despite insurmountable odds. They beat adversity, physical hardship, and traumatic events, and emerged triumphantly. They're people just like you and me, and they're winners. Are you unstoppable? Here's Frankie to show you how.
Well, I know you're unstoppable because you've been with me for a long time. You had to learn something. Today, we're going on another Mission Unstoppable with another unstoppable guest, Monique Holmberg. She is with us. She's an inspirational thought leader, a teacher, journalist, photographer, ocean lover, and brain cancer survivor. She is also the founder of Rise Regardless, whose tag states, create your quality of life no matter what. Monique has over 212,000 Twitter followers, and I am going to let her tell you her story of how that came about. But first, let's say hello. Welcome.
Hey. Thanks for the show.
Yeah, Monique has a strange accent. She is from Australia, and it's 7 o'clock in the morning there. It's 5 p.m. where I am, and so you can just imagine that, she's probably a little bit tired. She probably got up really early thinking, I'm going to miss this interview. I have to get up. Did that happen?
Yes, yeah. I'm like, up 5:30. Oh, now I've got nothing to do.
Well, I want to hear about everything. Okay, I want to hear about everything, especially where it all started for you, how you grew up. Now, I think that you grew up on a sheep farm. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. Yeah, big sheep property, 6 hours drive west of Sydney. Sheep and wheat. So yeah, farm girl through and through. So yeah.
And did you have any duties on that farm as a young girl?
Oh yeah, we had chores, endless chores. It was a really great life. Until the age of about 16, and then when I got to 16, I was like, I want culture, I want theatre. I mean, I used to, on my school holidays, go to the most underground part of Sydney and get the weirdest haircut, and then come back to my small country town and just look like an idiot. But it was fantastic growing up experience. It was really, really awesome. So, yeah.
And do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I'm the eldest of 4.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, very big farm. One of the things that I learnt the most about farming really is that it's a complete life in the fact that you have to be an accountant, you have to be husbandry of animals, mm-hmm. you have to be everything. You have to be a mechanic, and I think that that's what has really helped me with my journey, just knowing that you can be multi-skilled. Multi-potentialite is a word which I've just learnt recently, and that's really helped me a lot in this path forward. So, yeah.
It's interesting, and I guess you have to have a lot of kids so that you have free labor. Lots of farmers have lots of kids, but you have to. There's a lot of work to be done. And did you have cute Aussie Shepherd puppies and things like that? I know you're a dog lover.
Oh, yeah, that's, true. Yeah, the Kelpie, yeah. I think some of the Australian working sheepdogs are smarter than humans. They're, master of 4,000 sheep. They know how to work it. But the thing is, you can't bring any of them back to the city because they can just get out of any situation. They're just incredible. Yeah, I love dogs. But I don't have one now. Actually, I'm in a flat, so yeah.
So you live in Sydney today? Is that where you live?
Mm-hmm. I live in the beach suburb of Coogee. I live right near the cliff. It's just very, very beautiful. If you don't know Sydney, it's just a couple of suburbs away from Bondi Beach. Everyone knows Bondi Beach. We're just hitting summer now, just hitting a bit of heat. Well, it's not summer, but spring. And it's my bit of nature. It's very hard for me to be, trapped in a flat. When I'm used to being a farm girl, we've just, 5,500 acres at my disposal. And so that's my way of getting grounded and keeping my feet on the ground.
Now, I know that you wrote that you love the ocean. But you also said that you love going into the bush and getting the hell out of Sydney. So what does that mean to you to go into the bush? Like, how far deep into the bush are we talking about? And for how long?
Oh, well, I've been
Is it like a walkabout?
Yes. Yeah, a walkabout's kind of like a mind attitude towards things. It's not like a plan. It's just like, let's go, see where we end up kind of thing. Yes, I have been doing quite a bit of that for the last 5 months because with my health, I did crash 3 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And in the last 4 or 5 months, my health has really come back so strongly. And I've been to Cairns. I've just got back from the Gold Coast and Brisbane. When we actually sold the farm in May, and so then I just kind of took off, went to Mudgee, went to Dubbo, did a bit of a random trip around. I get strength when I go out there. I get perspective on my life. The things that bug me in Sydney, when I get out there, I realise that it's just kind of a mind trap that I've got myself into when I'm in Sydney, and I don't need to think that way anymore. So, it gives me a lot of strength is the main thing. And when you're out there, there's parts of Australia where humans just still haven't actually walked with their feet. You know, if you go to England, everyone's been everywhere. Yeah. Every footstep that you make, someone's done it before. There's still large parts of Australia. You can go an hour and a half out of Sydney and find patches where no one has actually, been. So that kind of gives a perspective to your life as well, because everything's much bigger than you are.
And you have the most unusual creatures in Australia that don't exist anywhere else in the world. What's like, have you seen all of them, do you think?
I haven't seen a crocodile. Oh, maybe I have when I was little, actually. I'm not sure about that one. But yeah, pretty much all of them. I think we have the highest number of dangerous animals or something.
You do?
So we have to be hard with some of those statistics because Australia loves boasting about this and boasting about that. And you go overseas and they're like, no, it's not. That's not true. So,
But like outside of a zoo, like have you seen like a platypus just walking around or kookaburra or,
Oh, kookaburra, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember being in my mother's backyard and just picking up all these what we call twirly-whirly things that just come in from the west. And there was like hundreds and hundreds of them. And the kookaburras were just laughing at me because it was the most idiotic thing that one could be doing. Like clean up the yard when there's 5,500 acres of wind rolling stuff into it. And we would kill probably a brown snake, which is one of the best venomous snakes in Australia, in the world basically. We would kill one of those every summer. I do remember an incident where we had one go under the house, so we all sat at all different corners of the house, either with a gun or with a shovel, depending where you were. And that snake that came out at my entrance. So I am screaming and hollering, and I had to wait till it got enough out because if it just stuck its head out and I yelled, it would have gone back in. So I had to wait till it came enough out and then get the shovel, keep it all, stop it getting back in, and scream and holler till someone came with a gun. So,
oh my gosh, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, every summer when you walk around the farm, you do not walk with your head in the clouds. It's that simple. Yeah.
And do the dogs ever attack snakes? Like, do they ever?
They do, but they're more likely to get bit. Dogs just kind of yap and go crazy and wind the snake up. A cat is much better. A cat just goes still and then lightning pounce. So they're much better at killing snakes. So yeah.
Wow, brave girl. So I can understand why you love the freedom of being outside because you were inside for quite a while with your surgery. Tell us what happened. Tell us about how you became ill.
Okay, so basically, so when I was 21, it was on the birthday of my 22nd birthday, I woke up and I couldn't see, basically. And I couldn't see pretty much to the other side of the street. So I could see, but not properly. And I had a flatmate who was a nurse, and he's like, shut one eye. What do you see? Shut one eye. So it was just one eye that I couldn't see. So I went to the Sydney Eye Hospital, and they told me that I had MS, multiple sclerosis, and that it was a very ferocious form of MS, and that I would be in a wheelchair within 2 years' time.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. So as you can imagine, being a country girl and being told this, I kind of went crazy. I completely just changed up my life. I quit my graduate job. I became a dance instructor. I really kind of lived to the fullest. And then 6 months down the track, because they were like, it's definitely MS, you know, we don't need to do any tests. It's really hard to do CAT scan and see anything with MS, but we'll do schedule one. For 6 months on the track, I had a CAT scan, and I actually had a cyst. So not cancer, but I'd actually a cyst. At that time, we didn't know if it was cancer or not.
Sure.
I had a cyst on my pituitary, which is pressing on the back of my eye. And that had to come out because it was basically like a millimetre from the blood vessel that feeds the brain. So
So that was like you could lose an eye, you could lose function somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, it was quite a dangerous operation. Yeah, there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong
Yeah, I
with that.
bet. Pretty scary.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and it all happened very quickly. I didn't really have time to acquaint myself with the new reality that was happening. So, yeah.
And was there any relief that it wasn't MS? Or did you think, oh my gosh, like what that guy put me through, that doctor put me through something, and even though, you know, thank goodness the MRI was scheduled, you still lived, 6 months thinking that you had MS and we're gonna, be in a wheelchair in 2 years.
Yeah, I don't remember thinking one way or the other, because it happened so fast. Then they were like, there's a lump in your brain that could be cancer. If you're going to do this operation, you may have to lose your pituitary. You might be on drugs for the rest of your life. You may not be able to have a baby. There was just so much kind of going on that I just had to keep moving with the information and what was happening. And I had a lot of complications after the surgery, for the 2 weeks after the surgery as well. So, yeah, I had things like my body wouldn't wheeze, so I was kind of bloating up to like a size 14, which I don't know what that is in America, but it's not a 14 in America. I know you got.
Hang on, say that again. Your body wouldn't
wee like a.
So you couldn't go to the bathroom. Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. I want to hold this conversation until we come back from our commercial break. We're going to go to a commercial right now in about 7 seconds, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Monique a little bit more about her surgery, the after surgery, and how she's moved on with her life, and all of the amazing and wonderful things that she's done with it, and all the things that she surpassed.
That's right. Don't stop listening. Mission Unstoppable with Coach Frankie Picasso will continue right after these messages.
Stop.
Close your eyes and imagine living your life without limits. Where would you go? Who would you meet? What would you do? During an Uncover Your Hidden Genius session, you will discover what's keeping you from living your life with purpose, passion, and fulfillment of your potential. You'll get a clear vision of the steps you need to take to uncover your hidden genius so that you can live a life without limits. Sessions can be done over the phone, Skype, or in person. Find out more at www.joycebufordempowers.com or by calling 903-287-0747.
This is the TogiNet Radio Network, radio with a cutting edge.
It's words you never heard. So last night, my husband was laughing as he was reading about the differences between men and women. According to the article, men get single tusks or hiccups more often than women. Everyone knows that women are better at multitasking than men. I'm good at both multitasking and procrastinating, which means right now there are 28 things that I'm putting off until later. What's another word for a person who puts everything off until the last minute? A cunctator. Women blink nearly twice as much as men, and while men can read smaller print than women, women can hear better. In fact, when a woman says, "What?" she heard you. She's just giving you a chance to change what you said.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Thank Thank you for that. And if you forgot where you were not at a Stones concert. You are listening to Mission Unstoppable Radio. I am your host, Frankie Picasso, and my guest is Monique Holmberg. So Monique was just telling us about her brain surgery, the after effects of surgery. And I just want to go back to it for a moment, Monique. When you had the surgery, was your family around you? Were you well supported with family and friends?
Yes, I was. Yeah. But it happened very, very fast. So once we had got the CAT scan back at that point, I think I was trying to be incredibly brave and strong and do that foolish 22-year-old thing that people do. Mm-hmm. And I think I phoned my parents the night before I went into hospital, which I look back on now, it just seems such a silly thing to do. But yeah, so they kind of had a bit of a meltdown and then drove all the way to Sydney. So, yeah, it was quite a challenging time. But for me, it was just looking death in the eye where I had no preparation, no life skills for that. And it just really stripped away the layers in my life. I've been on a couple of scholarships, and so I'd been put on this path, and I chose these paths because I'd been offered the scholarship, not because I particularly wanted to do the degree. And I was also... Yeah. So it just stripped away the way that I was living, the fears in my life that I had about choices that I was making. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I call it like a free fall. And actually, when I meet people who have had major surgery, sometimes for a few weeks after they're in this free fall with their life. Mm-hmm. And that's a really good thing to have, although I would recommend not making decisions in those first 6 weeks because there is reality.
Exactly.
You've got to deal. Yes. Yeah.
I understand that. And it's interesting that, as you laser focus, you just really become hyper focused, I think, where everything is stripped away and you're just thinking, okay, the really important stuff, is what I need to concentrate on. None of the bullshit, all of the stuff that irritates me, it's nothing. It's nothing. And so, I imagine that, so let's talk about, you had your surgery, it was successful?
Yeah, I don't have a full pituitary. I had quite a few energy problems afterwards. I was on medication for just like 6 to 8 weeks. That was keeping my heart pumping because I didn't have cortisol in my body, which is what keeps your heart pumping. Oh, wow. Yeah, and then my pituitary kind of started to work in that area. But I still didn't have full energy. So, yeah, from that point on, really, I was kind of running at 85-90% energy. And then when I kind of moved on to, when I was 29, I think it was 2019, around 2000, I got glandular fever. And so that kind of combined with a kind of slightly weakened system already, mm-hmm. I just went, I got chronic fatigue, and I have kind of spent the last 15, 16 years with health kind of going on these hills and valleys to being crushed in bed for a year or two and then getting up and being able to run. Oh my gosh.
Wow. What was the name of that fever that you got again?
A glandular fever.
Oh, a glandular fever. Okay. I thought you had a name for it. Okay. And so that has really so your adrenals crashed, everything was kind of crashing around you. Is that what was going on?
Yes. Yes.
And so in and out of bed, in and out of energy. Were you doing any acting at that time, or did that all come before the brain surgery?
Yeah, no, I kind of did acting later. So basically, I was studying film and television, and I had just kept being asked to do short films with all the students. And then I crashed with my energy. So I was in bed for a year or two. It's a bit hard to remember the exact how long I was in bed.
Yeah.
And I've done that deliberately because I have a habit of just trying to move through the bad stuff because you don't want to focus on it and keep it imprinted in your brain too long. Mm-hmm. So then when I did acting because basically you only get a job once every 2 months, and that's all I could do with my health. So, yeah, I sold cookies in magazines.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got quite a few roles just as brothel owners or as prostitutes. I did look great.
You don't really have that look, I'll say, but okay. That's funny. That's
because I had a bit of a pallor. I had a kind of a heroin kind of look to me because I wasn't very well. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Way to use your illness for positive. That's right. You're all about doing that, right? Making a positive out of making a silk purse out of a sow's ear, as they say.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's just like if you've got limitations in your life, you can't think about them. You've got to figure out a way to wriggle out between the rock and the hard place. And that's been my main thing for the last 15 years. But what I'm switching to now, that's what I call as a struggle mindset, and that's a really powerful thing to do because it's single focus, it's determined. You're like, I've got to make this work. I've got to give myself quality of life no matter what. But now I'm kind of switching into what I'm more of a strive mindset, which is more. The thing about a strive mindset is you're more open to possibility. You're more open to life. You have a better feeling of safety and trusting yourself inside yourself because the threat has settled down in your life, and that's a really important mindset. And it's actually, if people are out there listening, that's something to remember when you are going through struggle. You can kind of, because you're in that struggle for a while, you can forget how to do the thrive mindset, and that's where the joy and possibility is. So
yeah, you can get caught in a loop. And, you can get caught in a loop. And if you're in the bad loop, you stay in a bad loop. But being positive is something that you and I have in common. And, looking forward instead of back is really the way to move, I feel, through life. And I've seen it with my dad and all of the horrible things, in his life. But he never looks back. He always looks forward. And I think, thriving with a thrive mindset is similar to that. You just, focus on what's present and future rather than what's behind you. So you mentioned that you use neuroplasticity to heal yourself. So can you tell us what that word means for the listeners who might not understand that?
Yeah, so neuroplasticity is where you change your brain or you set up a new neural network in your brain. So it's a combination of neuroplasticity. It's using a combination of Tony Robbins, Buddhism, osteopathy, and neuroplasticity, and it's using the very latest research with placebos and that kind of thing. I did a course with a wonderful guy called Ian Cleary. It's called the Lightning Process, and I did a 3-day course with him, and that's really changed my life. So just to give a small example, I'll give 2 examples. So if you get your arm cut off, we all know there's situations where people can still feel their fingers, or if their arm has been in a cast and it's been cut off, they can still feel like that, it was in the cast and then it was cut off. They can still feel as if the arm is really heavy, it's still in the cast. So the brain is acting on a reality that is no longer true. So using that premise with me was like, yes, you have a weakened pituitary. Yes, you've had glandular fever that just burnt your adrenals out. The last burnout was from my dad and my ex-partner being both seriously ill at the same time. So, yeah, that was all real. But now, based on that is no longer true. That's where chronic pain can come in as well. To give another example, Lorimer, he did a study with the rubber arm. You may have heard of it. So he does this thing with a mirror. So he puts his rubber arm down and does a trick with a mirror, and it looks like it's your arm. So if you hit that rubber arm, you feel pain in your brain. And if you keep doing that, your brain actually stops sending blood to your real arm because your brain's like, you only have 2 arms. You don't have 3 arms. This arm is not real anymore. And they've actually done studies on your real arm, and it's shown that it stops sending blood and nutrients to that brain. And if they touch it, you don't feel it. So based on that kind of premise, it's about setting up the correct mind map or causal mind map in your brain that is going to help you move forward and help you get better.
Exactly. As a hypnotherapist, I've often had people go into their head and pretend that there are dials that they can turn down, physically turn down these dials until they feel comfortable. And I think that's, it's very powerful to know that you're in the control of all of that. You're in the, the driver's seat, the engineer, so to speak, of your brain. And it does really work. And it's pretty amazing how effective it is. And, making that new deer path from, the one thought or the thought patterns that you used to have to the new thought patterns that you do want, it can happen pretty quickly. You just are changing, those neurons that are used to going one way to going a new way now. And so it's wonderful. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's also, just to give another example, because I know some people can have trouble wrapping their head around this. Another way to think of it is if you're out there and you go walking in the bush, I'll give you an Australian example.
Yeah.
You're happy walking along, you're like happy, and then you feel this like little thing on your ankle. Oh no, you've been bitten by a brown snake. Okay, emergency, rush, hospital, poison, nelly tie. The next time you go for a bushwalk, you feel every single little twig that brushes up against that ankle. So your body's got into a protective mode, into a safe mode, into a hyper awareness of that kind of area. And that's useful if it's used to protect you, but we can go overboard, and then that's where the problems can start kicking in.
So if that has happened to you, I mean, you still want to be diligent, but you don't want to be in where you're fearful of everything. Yes, yeah, and the mind likes to protect itself. And I will say, the society that we live in now, we're so concerned with making ourselves safe. I think we're giving that part of our brain too much power, and I think that's why there's a lot of back injuries and all kinds of things now where perhaps there wasn't 100 years ago. That's just a personal theory of mine. Yeah, I know that Wayne Dyer once said about watching the news, if you can't change the news, don't watch the news. And I think it has a lot of power, and it's really a powerful statement. We're going to go to a commercial break, but I want to talk about it when we come back, because I think you're absolutely right that safety is our issue, or is our number one issue right now, and it is causing a lot of illness and disease throughout society for sure. So stick around, grab a bite, get something to drink, take a bio break, but make sure you come back and speak to and listen to Monique and I have a conversation about being unstoppable and rising regardless. We're going to talk about that when we get back.
That's right. Don't stop listening. Mission Unstoppable with Coach Frankie Picasso will continue right after these messages.
Stop.
It's merging never heard.
Have you ever found yourself in an airplane seated next to a nonstop talker that you really don't have anything at all in common with? When I fly, I usually want to catch up on my reading and not have to listen to an explatterator. It's even worse if they're a philodox. That's a person who just loves their own opinion. Well, now a Facebook app lets you choose your own seatmate before you fly. According to an article in USA Today, social media startups are bringing together compatible flyers before they take their seats. That's good news for people lovers, otherwise known as philodemics. A number of apps such as Planely and Satisfly are helping travelers meet not only online, but in person. Think the Match.com of travel. I love flying and have been to almost as many places as my luggage.
It's merging never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Word.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
You may think that getting 5 or more servings of vegetables and fruit a day is a daunting task and may even seem unrealistic. With the price of almost everything increasing, some people think it's too expensive to buy fruit and vegetables. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, you can buy 3 servings of fruits and 4 servings of vegetables for well under $2 a day. If the taste of fruit and vegetables is not your favorite, find something low-calorie and delicious to dip them in. My children love to dip fresh vegetables like carrots, celery, broccoli, and cauliflower in ranch dressing for a nutritious and tasty snack. Dipping them into yogurt is also scrumptious. Be creative and make sure to eat at least 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. By doing so, you will watch your health increase and your weight decrease. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
All right. Are you pumped up yet? You're listening to Mission Unstoppable Radio. I'm still your host, Frankie Picasso, and we are still talking to Monique Holmberg from Australia. She's coming to us from Sydney. And we were talking just before we went to the break about the news and how Wayne Dyer had said, don't watch the news unless, it really affects you. Otherwise, you are going to be affected by the news. And when CNN had their coverage, they have their coverage every day, but especially during 9/11, when they repeated and repeated and repeated ad nauseum. Yes, it was a horrific event that had happened in the U.S., but I really felt that the whole world went into this huge depression. And, it happened and we couldn't do anything about it, but yet it replayed and replayed and replayed, and that fear was amplified around the world.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point as well. One of the things that I've been exploring at the moment with my own thoughts is when we put fear into future planning our life. So what I mean by that is we've got a way of thinking about our future. And obviously some things, Christmas dinner with the in-laws, for example, you might think about that and you get a stress response. That's a typical example, but what can happen is we can get into a trap where we just look for the particular problems that could be happening in the next 6 weeks in our life. Now, looking for that problem is a good thing in a certain respect because you want to figure out how to get around it, but it's kind of creating a reality because you're just putting fear problem onto each event rather than thinking about each event in a positive way of what you're going to get out of it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm calling that putting fear, future planning fear into your life. That's my new thing that I've been working on myself for the last few months, as well as doing calm no matter what. Good.
Yeah. I think I guess I've always kind of been somebody who looks at the future as in a really positive way. And even like when I used to have to go for jobs and interviews and things like that, I would just always imagine I got it, and, you've probably heard people speak about how before you go to bed, you can, your higher self can talk to, the boss's higher self and just, introduce yourself and have that connection before you even go there. And I really do believe that we are connected on another level somewhere. So it's interesting how, I guess I live in a world where I believe that good things are going to happen. And I know my partner lives in a world where he's a little more negative about things. And so, he says, I live with fairy dust and unicorns. And I said, but that's the world I want to live in. So it's not that I'm not aware of a reality of the world, but I choose the existence I want to live in and make it that my reality. I think that you're trying to do that for yourself, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, and there's a balance too. So, if you're just like 100% positive too, I've seen that situation where people just keep glossing over a problem that really needs to be dealt with. Yeah. So it is about balance. But when I was up in the Gold Coast, I did Airbnb, and I stayed with this lovely lady who was in her 60s. And, she kind of dropped me off to the conference, which saved me money on taxi fares. And then when I got home in the evening, she cooked a couple of meals for me, which saved me quite a bit of money on takeaway food. And she was very lovely. Now, that's the story that I'm telling you about that experience. However, there was another experience which I could come back to Sydney and tell people, which is when I tried to cook something, she would hover over me. She wouldn't even let me wash the dishes because she thought I was going to break something. Oh. And I couldn't, flip an egg without her, rustling through the drawer and changing the utensil that I had. So I could come back to Sydney, and there's two choices on that experience and how do I want to tell people about that and how was my time in the Gold Coast. So both are true.
Right.
Which one, which
you
one
want to focus on?
Yeah, which one has more gratitude and love and appreciation in it? Which one? So, yeah.
It's it's like that Cherokee proverb. It really is, which one are you going to focus on and which in what world you want to live in. And I don't think that being positive means that you have to gloss over problems either. I think that you get to choose though, how you're going to approach an obstacle or how you're going to look at things, at least believing that there's a solution rather than there's not.
you just sent shivers down my spine saying that, because that's then we're getting into that thrive mindset too, where you're trusting in the goodness and trusting that you're going to solve this problem, and you're open to possibility. And it's not necessarily a problem; it's an opportunity. It's a growth and it's learning. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you were lying in bed and, after your surgery and, the most you could, find the energy to do was to tweet out 140 characters, you probably never expected that your life would, that you would create such a following for yourself.
Yeah. So sorry, just to go back a little. So I had the surgery when I was 22.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was back in 1994. But the last crash that I had was when my dad was seriously ill and my then partner was seriously ill. And I was running around between 2 different hospitals, none of them close near me, for over a year. Of course. Yeah, so that's when, so that was just over 2.5 years ago. So I was in bed. I could only get out of the flat 4 hours a week, I would say.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I had been writing a book on how to overcome a health tragedy. And I wasn't well enough to do that. I wasn't well enough to do anything. And so I was kind of got on Twitter because I was quite isolated. And I'm like, what can I do? Well, I can do 140 characters. I can do that.
I have to ask you, did somebody look after you? Did somebody help you?
No, not really. No,
did you allow them?
I don't have family nearby to help. I kind of got groceries home delivered, and I'd had so many crashes in the past 15, 16 years that I've become quite good at scaling down my life and making it work no matter what.
Okay. Because it sounds like, you said that you're isolated. It sounds very lonely.
It was very lonely. Yeah. It basically, I would catch up with friends for a coffee, but I really I was only well enough to do like 4 hours out of the flat a week. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So that's when you decided to start tweeting.
Yes. Yeah. I mucked around on Twitter for a few months. And then after a few months, like, people were kind of enjoying what I was saying. And then I think, the 3rd or 4th month, and I was quite thrilled to be kind of connecting with these people from all over the world while I was in bed. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Then I kind of decided to do my own Rise Regardless hashtag. I didn't try and do that thing where people do all these hashtags to get followers. I was like, no, I'm just going to stick with Rise Regardless. That's all I'm going to do. So it just took off. I got 60,000 followers in the first year and then another 120,000 followers in the second year. So, yeah, and now I just hit 215,000 people. 215. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you use your own photographs for your inspirational quotes?
Yeah, so I use a mixture. I just can't take enough photos of my own to... So, yes, there are photos I buy, and then the ones that I use that I take, I hashtag in Instagram. So more of my photography is on Instagram. I hashtag that as photography or photographer or my photo of the day, so people can tell the difference.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm kind of picking up the photography a lot more. I've just finished 2 courses with the top camera school in Australia, and I'm about to do a 3rd one coming up in October. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, and
what kind of camera are you using?
Oh, a Canon 600D. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Few photographers out there.
And I've been approached by Vida, which is Google-backed venture, to supply some of my photography for their scarves and T-shirts. So I'm just contemplating whether to go forward with that at the moment. I was very excited to be asked.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Very exciting indeed. So how is your health right now?
My health is much better. Like, I did my first marathon in August. I walked it. Yeah, I walked it.
So 26 miles.
No,
kilometers.
14 kilometers. So it was like a fun marathon, not like a hardcore one. I'm not like that. Yeah. And that's the most I've done in 15, 16 years. And I kind of screamed when I saw Bondi Beach, when I saw the end. So,
I bet. Wow.
And, so I'm just kind of getting the condition of my body up, basically. And I just did a spin class a couple of weeks ago, and that was the first time I could do it at a level that was like what I call the big kids. So I'm playing with the big kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. And how are you eating?
So I've always eaten very healthily, and I don't. I actually don't really believe in doing a very particular hardcore diet. The reason being is I don't like putting that body in a stress mode and thinking, oh, if I eat gluten, this is going to happen. I disagree with that. I'm going against current trend on that. I think that's putting that body into a threat mode and seeing food as a threat. And
it's a bad thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that exacerbates.
Exacerbates, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I chose that word.
It's a hard word. But so you're not gluten-free, or you don't do anything like that?
No, I was gluten-free and all this kind of free and that free about 5 months ago. I've trained my body to accept food and not see food as nourishing and welcoming, and my IBS has settled down. My intolerances have disappeared. I've still got a slight dairy one, but I was kind of born with that one, so that one may not disappear. But the all the other ones. Because I know a lot.
And when you say dairy, is it cow dairy or sheep dairy or goat? Does it matter?
Yeah, so cow dairy. So
cow dairy, yeah.
Yeah, but I was born with that one, so
yeah. A lot of people are. I drink goat's milk. I really like goat's milk, and I always have. But I don't know. Cow's milk is just not good for some people.
Yes.
I had kids that weren't either. We're going to go to our last commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We are going to come back. We're going to talk more about Monique, and if you want, you can give us a call. You know the number. We'll be watching for you. Anyway, I just went somewhere for a second there. I'm so sorry. This is not my usual time for a radio show. Anyway, we're coming right back. Don't go anywhere.
Stop.
That's right. Don't stop listening. Mission Unstoppable with Coach Frankie Picasso will continue right after these messages.
Stop.
The League of Women Voters reminds you that on Election Day, we are all equal. Please join your friends and neighbors by registering to vote and going to the polls November 8th. Visit www.vote411.org to find out who will be on your ballot and how the voting process works in your community. This election is about our future, and we all need to weigh in.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Harvard Medical School reports that 4 out of 5 Americans are plagued with a debilitating and sometimes excruciating low back pain at some point in their lives. Strengthening your core is one of the best ways to prevent low back pain. Your core muscles are often referred to as your powerhouse because almost all the movements of your body engage your core. A strong core stabilizes your back as well as enhancing your balance. A sturdy, flexible core fortifies almost everything that you do and helps prevent falls and injuries during sports and other activities. To keep low back pain absent from your body, concentrate on exercises that strengthen your core. Live healthy, strong, and pain-free. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. If you're a fan of Fitness Minute, like us on Facebook at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
And I just want to thank you all for sticking around and staying with us for this last leg of our journey. We're still on our Mission Unstoppable. I am your host, Frankie Picasso. Monique Holmberger is with us, and she's going to talk to us now about, a few things that you can do to improve the quality of your life. So one simple thing that people can do, Monique, is what?
Do calm no matter what. I touched on this a little bit before in terms that's what I've been doing that with myself, but I just thought I'd explain that a bit more to people. We can become stress heads in ways that we don't even realize. And if you actually do a thing of just try it for a day, I give everybody a challenge, just try it for a day. Do calm no matter what. It settles down the way your body works. It helps with your breathing. You feel more confident and calm with the world and the way that you interact with the world. And you're going to notice where your mind just like wants to spiral off. And what I will say is when you do calm, you have so much more energy to get through your day. And the other thing is also, I've been doing this for 3 or 4 months, and I just keep noticing little things that I get stressed about. And the more that you do it, you just change your whole physiology and the way you approach the world. However, I did do it too much. So I was at the airport and I was doing calm. Normally airports stress me out. There's a taxi, they're going to go fast. Am I going to get there on time? I've got to get through the x-ray machine. Got to check. Did I leave? And this time I was so calm, I actually left the boarding pass at the x-ray machine. That was a big lesson in appropriacy. There is a time to be alert and a time to do. Yes. Oh,
that's funny. That's funny. Calm no matter what. I like that. And yoga is something that's really important to you. You is it the meditation? What is it for you with yoga?
Because I'm an ex-dancer, yoga for me is a full body workout, and it just refines everything inside me, and it gets me back to ground zero, because sometimes you don't realize how far out you've gone in a particular way of thinking, and yoga just puts you back and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I've been kind of doing angry for the last 3 days, and that kind of thing. And I just also find that sometimes it's quite euphoric as well, because you do a session and it just floods all that joy and gratitude and appreciation into your life. And you can only get to that part when you get to ground zero, because if you're busy with your mind, doing angry, doing frustration, and I'm using the word doing on purpose because I'm making it active and making it such that your choice that you're doing angry, and that's okay. If you want to do angry, you do angry, but it's your choice. But
that's important. That's really important, because choice is what it really is. We get to choose our every thought. We get to choose how we want to live our life. That's our choice. Like, you can be angry and if you're an Abraham follower, Abraham will say that it's a higher emotion than depression, but it's not joy. So then you get to choose to go to the next level if you want.
Yeah. And it's with the language that we choose as well. We're like, oh, my boss did this and they made me so angry. They didn't make you angry. You're doing angry because they've upset your boundaries or they've betrayed you on some level. And that's fine, but just own what you're doing. And when we start to own our choices and our emotions and our state that we're in, suddenly then you have so much more power over it. That's the thing people don't realize. If you own it, then you have power over it. If you kind of always saying it's someone else is causing me to be like this, your room to change becomes very limited.
So, would your advice be different then? I mean, calm, but would your advice be different than to someone who's going through a tough time?
No, it still would be the same, because it would be it's even more important to do calm, because there are a lot of, there's so many things that are going on when you're going through a tough time. Your finances can be taking a massive hit. Certain people in your family may not be dealing with it very well, so you've got to look after them or just be aware of their energy space. You could be in a lot of physical pain. So trying to find that space in your life to do calm, or to go, do angry because the surgeon didn't do the surgery very well. That's okay. That's fine. But always, because anger too can give you momentum to make changes and change your life and give you that determination. But doing calm on a very basic level puts your body back into rest and digest. It gets the parasympathetic system happening, and that is when healing can happen in your body. I'm not talking New Age healing. I'm talking like physical healing. When your body is hyped up with adrenaline, it's not going to be knitting itself back together after that surgery or after that divorce breakup or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's that cortisol in your body is detrimental for sure. So what's the best thing in Monique's life right now?
Okay. The best thing is, oh my gosh, it's like with my energy and my health coming back, it's like a full body cast has come off me. And yeah, it's just extraordinary. I'm just getting to do so many things that I love. I'm getting to create my life anew. I feel like I'm flying, and I'm also knitting myself up from the bottom. So, yeah,
well, you spent a lot of time alone. You spent a lot of time alone, like you said. People didn't really help you. Nobody was there for you, and so being in and out of health. It sounded like you spent a lot of time in isolation. How is it now with like the lights are on and the people are back, and like, is it too much for you sometimes, or do you find that you want to retreat away more than you might have wanted to before?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, I love being with people, and I love all of that, but I do get to a point I've got a switch inside me, and I love I'm an massive extrovert, and then the switch goes click, and then I'm like, no, I need to go back. I need silence. I need to go back to my little monk-like cave where I've been for a little while, and just have that silence. So that's true. I do. What for someone is normal, for me is quite, can sometimes be overstimulation for me at this. So there's definitely an adjustment period that I'm going through.
And that's a good thing. I mean, happily, we're so happy for you that you've got your health, that you're getting to experience living again. You're a young woman, and you should. All the doors and everything should be open for you right now. And so, how's your love life? Have you met anybody?
Well, yeah, not so good at the moment. So yeah, that's something that I'm going to hopefully will happen in the next few months. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. Yeah, I've had a couple of men come up and chat to me, and then I'm like, are you married? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you. Goodbye. So really, come on, guys, get your act together.
All the cute ones are always married. Online dating, that's all I can say.
Online dating. So, yeah.
And do you have a dog right now?
No. There's my mother's got a beautiful dog called Bessie. She's a massive farm dog, but when my mother moves into town, we will have to put her on a farm because she can jump. I don't know, the highest fence that you can ever put in a backyard, she can still jump it. I've seen her jump out of the window of a house.
Oh my gosh.
She's just crazy. She's a New Zealand hunter. And so she's really long legs. She's quite incredible. But
look that one up. And make sure that you give us your coordinates right now, Monique, so that we make sure that we get those in before the end of the show. Your coordinates for your website, Twitter.
Oh, okay, so yeah, you can find me on Twitter at #RiseRegardless. Also, you can find me under Monique Honberg, but you won't get my last name right. So just look up #RiseRegardless. I'm on Instagram. Instagram and Twitter is where I'm most active at the moment. I've got my website, riseregardless.com. So that I was just about to launch that, and I've had to take a big step back and reassess how I view the Rise Regardless thing. So that's quite exciting. And I've just kind of had some massive breakthroughs with that. So that'll be launching in a month or two, but I'll be, it's not ready for people to sign up to yet. That will be ready in a month or two. So I just went to Pro Blogger Conference, which if anybody is seriously thinking about blogging or entrepreneurs or putting up a website, thoroughly recommend getting a virtual ticket through them. They just blew my mind.
Really?
Yeah, they're one of the top top 5, top 10 places people go for blogging information. They happen to be Australian-based, even though they're top 5, top 10 in the world. And, they're just awesome. So
they were called ProBlogger? Is that what you said?
ProBlogger, yes.
Okay. So, folks, write that down, ProBlogger. There's lots of you, I'm sure, that have blogs and websites that you want to make sure that you get their information. If Monique says it's wonderful, you got to listen to her. She's the one with the big numbers on her Twitters. And I'm going to ask you this not in a negative way. What's the worst thing in your life right now?
The worst thing in my life is because there's so much change happening. Like, I'm leaning into the change, and I'm leaning into making all these different decisions in my life and leaning into the fear. I'm loving that, but sometimes that empowerment can slip into overwhelm. And I recently just had an experience where I'd hit a wall with doing the Rise Regardless website, and I just didn't want it to go forward in the way that it was, because it felt like such a part of my illness. And I was walking around for 3 weeks, just teary. My emotions were just so close to the surface, and I couldn't figure it out. And then when I went to this conference, I listened to Emily Wapnick, and she talks about being a multi-potentialite or a Renaissance person, where you have multi-interests and you're multi-dimensional. And that just was a massive breakthrough for me, because I am going to be changing Rise Regardless, because so much of Rise Regardless was about my dark night of the soul and my journey through that. And it was so much a part of my illness, so I needed to change my relationship to Rise Regardless to go forward. And she kind of helped me see that, and also bring in all this, my background in film and TV and photography and all these other things that I want to bring to the table now. Not just being identified as that ill person who did Rise Regardless. So, yeah, kind of a roundabout way of answering the question, but yes.
Well, thank you. And you know what? It sounds positive still, though, because you know where you're going. You have a vision and a future. We have been talking to Monique Holmberg. Thank you for waking up at the early hours in Australia to talk to us today. And you have been listening to Mission Unstoppable Radio. We are so glad that you come each and every week. I am especially just so grateful for all of you people who tune in. And I'm very grateful to Roy, who's been my producer today, and to Monique for showing up. Take care, everybody. Take care, Monique. I wish you all the best for your future. Continued good health.
Thank you so much.
When the chips were down, they didn't stop. Stories of people who, when the odds were against them, turned defeat into victory. You've been listening to Mission Unstoppable with Coach Frankie Picasso. See you next time, and always remember...
Don't stop.